Welcome to The Stacks, a podcast about books and the people who read them. I'm your host, Tracy Thomas, and today we are welcoming Brandon Kyle Goodman to the show. Brandon is a New York-born actor and a writer on the television program Big Mouth, and a social justice activist, and an author of a brand new book called You Gotta Be You, How to Embrace This Messy Life and Step Into Who You Really Are. The book is part memoir, part how-to, and it's a compassionate and hilarious book all about unlearning the toxic traits we grew up with and now take for granted. You know, the ones that hold us back from our true potential. Queer, Black, and non-binary from an immigrant household, Brandon shares a hopeful and galvanizing message that you'll hear all about on today's episode. I also have to say, full disclosure, Brandon is one of my dearest friends. We've known each other since we were 19 years old at NYU, and I honestly could not be more excited to celebrate their work, the fact that they have a book, and just our friendship on this week's episode. Remember, our October book club pick is the memoir Fairest by Meredith Toulousan. Make sure to listen on October 26th when Anthony Christian Ocampo returns for the discussion. And don't forget, everything we talk about on each episode of The Stacks can be found in the link in the show notes. If you love the show and want more of it, head to patreon.com/thestacks to join the Stacks Pack. That's our wonderful bookish community. And since The Stacks is an indie podcast, it means I rely on listeners like you to make the show possible week in and week out. In addition to knowing that you're supporting your favorite book podcast, you also get to earn perks like our monthly virtual book club, bonus episodes. This month is with Kiese Lehman, and it's such a good time, and access to our Discord, plus more. If you'd like to be a part of this wonderful bookish community, head to patreon.com/thestacks. Thank you to some of our newest members of the Stacks Pack: Sarah Ruiz Grossman, Mary Ann Watson, Patrick Prudent, Teresa Gennaro, Disha Filia, and Cynthia Wasilic. Thank you all so much, and thank you to the entire Stacks Pack. And now it's time for my conversation with my dear, dear friend, Brandon Kyle Goodman. All right, everybody, I am so excited today. I know I say that every week, but this time I really, really mean it, because my guest today is one of my dear old darling, not old like old, but old like long friends, Brandon Kyle Goodman. Brandon, welcome to the Stacks.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here. This is a dream come true, Tracy. I remember when you were thinking about starting the Stacks, because I think I was still living with you at the time. You were like, I think I want to start this podcast called The Stacks. And now it's the fucking Stacks.
I know. Amazing. The show's like 5 years old, or almost 5 years old, which is crazy.
That's crazy.
I just can't believe that you're on the show because you've written a book. Like, I've had other friends on the show just like because I didn't know anybody in the book world. But now you're on the show because you've actually written a real book that you had published by like a big 5 publisher. It's called You Gotta Be You, and it's in the world now. And can you just tell the people in about 30 seconds or so what the book is about?
Yeah, I say that the book is part memoir, part self-help, and an exploration of the question, who would I be if society never got its hands on me? And the idea that self-love is the most important thing, but how do we do that? And so I wanted this book to be using my stories as a blueprint to loving oneself and loving the intersections of one's identity.
I love the mix of self-help and memoir. I think it's done really well. I've told you this before. It's not self-help like you need to do this to like have a good life, or like you need to do this to be yourself. It's more like, hey, this is what happened to me. Here's a few things I noticed. Like, take it if you want it. And so I always am like, it's not self-help, because I think that freaks people out and they think they're getting like how to be a badass or whatever those books are.
Yes. Yeah. It's not like, you know, I'm not like Brene Brown or somebody with like a degree or something. To me, I want it to feel like it's you're having brunch with your friend. And, you know, when you go to brunch, y'all start talking about dick and pussy and you laugh. And then all of a sudden you're talking about your childhood traumas. And it's just like what those really beautiful 3-hour brunches that you go to. That's what I wanted the book to feel like.
I feel like I haven't been to brunch with you in a while because I don't think
It's
we've
been a
talked about our
minute.
childhood trauma or dick and pussy recently. So
We're overdue for a brunch.
we're due for a date.
Yes.
Though I don't know if I have 3 hours to sit at a restaurant. I'm not into sitting at a restaurant for a long time personally. I don't like it. I'd rather like eat
You
and
don't
then like
like
go on
it?
a walk or something. Yeah. I don't know.
No, I love sitting there. I love the drinks continuing to be poured. Remember that brunch we went to at the Hudson? I still think about it. It was like you, me, Shane, Ismael,
Yes.
and a whole bunch of that was one of my favorite brunches.
That was
the
a
food
fun
wasn't
brunch.
great,
That was a
but
long time ago. That place has
It
closed.
was a long time ago. It's since
It is
closed.
closed. It is closed down. It does not exist.
Doesn't exist.
Okay.
That was a long brunch. Go ahead.
It was a long brunch. Wait, first of all, I have to say something on record. I'm so excited. We haven't talked about this, but people who are listening to this show know that I have a personal life bucket list with 3 things on it. One is to meet a sitting president of the United States.
Yes.
Two is to officiate someone's wedding. And 3 was to be thanked in the acknowledgments of someone's book. And you have checked off one of my major life bucket list things.
Yes. You're fully in that acknowledgement. Yes. I could not include you. It was really it was really emotional, like, thinking about my acknowledgments and thinking about specifically the chosen family section of that acknowledgments and thinking about the people that really have been there for me in such an incredible way. And you are at the top of that list of people who've really held me, held my heart, held my life so sacredly. And so I'm, just so grateful.
Don't make me cry on my own podcast. How rude. I do want to talk about chosen family. I wasn't planning on starting here, but let's talk about it. I'd love for you to explain to people what you mean by chosen family and sort of explain why it's so important to you and in your story.
Yeah, chosen family is such a term that you really, really hear in queer communities. And I think it really stemmed from the fact that a lot of queer people have experienced being, kicked out of their own homes with their blood family. And so then you find yourself, a lot of Black and brown kids and queer kids find themselves on the street. I mean, the homeless youth population of queer kids in LA is outrageous. And then you find people who are not your blood, but who take you in, who become your in kind of ball culture, your house mother, house fathers, where you find your siblings, and you just find these people who you're not related to, but are also usually queer and just like hold you like family and take care of you. And so chosen family, family is important, but sometimes your blood family can't do what family is expected to do. And so that's where chosen family steps in.
Yeah, I love chosen family, and I'm honored to be part of yours.
Yes.
In the book, you start with an intention. And I know that this is something that's always been part of who you are, but I'm curious why it was important for you to share the intention with your audience instead of just having it and let it guide you as the author.
I have this thing when I write sometimes, even like when I start a show, when I'm writing a play or one of my stage shows or whatever, where I always start with the intention, and I'm always, when I'm scared of something, like when I'm doing something really big, my go-to is to say it. My go-to is to put it out there. Even like if I'm live on stage and I'm scared, my go-to is to be like, hey y'all, I'm out here and I'm terrified, but we're going to do this. You know what I'm saying? And so that was part of the book, was like, I was really scared about writing this thing. And something about sharing my intention made me feel at ease and felt like I could really take off the pressure of what the expectations of the book are going to be. Because, I'm when you say you're writing a memoir, and I've said this too, it's like, what life have I lived? Like, I'm not Michelle Obama writing a memoir. So to like say, oh, this is a memoir, I didn't want people to come in it with like, well, that's it. Or like, well, what was that?
Right.
So I really wanted to set up the stage for whoever's reading, whether they know me or they don't. So that was why I wanted to put that intention in there.
I do want to talk about audience specifically because I know that was really important for you.
Yeah.
Who were you writing for, and how did you make sure that they were like top of mind to you as you were writing the book, and like that you were staying true to them? Yeah.
I always said I was writing for 2 audiences. So I was writing the book for Black folks, queer folks, and especially Black queer folks or queer POC folks. I wanted there's just not a lot of books with a Black queer story at the center of it, especially a Black queer story that's not in trauma, that like where there is allowed to be the nuance of joy and humor in the midst of, the human shit. So I really wanted that book. I really wanted a Black queer person, a queer POC person to pull a book off a shelf and be like, oh, like, this is me. Like, this is my story. I also wanted to write it for non-Black folks and non-queer folks and white folks, because I do believe that curiosity is what builds empathy. And so learning about other people's experiences candidly is what allows us to build empathy and show up better and show up stronger. And so in this, especially in these last few years of talking about Black Lives Matter and Black Trans Lives Matters and all these, allies and queer lives and all that stuff, it's like I wanted to create something where people who didn't identify like me as Black or queer, could understand my experience and see my humanity, and be able to show up for their friends who are Black or of color or queer in their own lives.
When you sort of early in the book, you talk about like not knowing how to not be Black and not be gay, and like, but more specifically, you use the slurs, you use the F word and the N word.
Yeah.
I can say the N word. I can't say the F word, so I'm just going to say the word for both of those, but know that I'm really saying the N word.
Yes.
Anyways, but you talk about like, and one of the guiding parts of the book, what questions of the book is like, who would I be if society never got its hands on me? I'm wondering how you balance how you see yourself and how the world sees you. Because I think like, yes, of course, we want to live our full selves, but part of living our full selves is also knowing how we're received and how we receive the world. Like we can't live in these silos of like, I'm just going to do whatever I want because that's what's in my heart. And I know you know that. So I'm wondering how you balance how you see yourself, how the world sees you, and like which one. Because sometimes one's got to win and sometimes the other's got to win.
Sure.
So like, how does that work for you?
I think I talk about that a little bit in the chapter They. It was a request of my editor to really talk about my pronouns, and I was a little hesitant about it. I was like, I don't want to talk about my fucking pronouns. And it was also like when I was writing it, I was also newly stepping into my pronouns, which are he and they. And so I was newly stepping into the they pronouns. But I'm glad I wrote that chapter because that chapter really does talk about holding the duality. And the duality is like, for me, I know that I'm a Black, non-binary queer person. But you can't see my non-binariness, right? Like I present as a man. I present masculine until I talk, and then you're like, oh, all right, there she goes, But I present as like a Black man, and so that's the experience that I'm also having. So I'm having an experience based off of how people are perceiving me, and I'm also having this internal experience. And so the reason for me personally, and everyone's going to be different about how they describe, especially when we talk about non-binary, how they describe their relationship to it. But for me, the reason I use both pronouns is because I wanted to allow myself permission to hold space for both, to hold space for how I see myself and how I want my friends and my family to see me, but also to hold space for how I'm seen and what I represent. Both the scary sides of it, like the scary sides of being Black as a threat, and being perceived as a threat, but also like the beautiful side of it. I talk about how as, Black gay men, you are so often emasculated. And so there's such work in reclaiming being a man. And so for any Black gay man who sees themselves in me, I don't ever want to like shit on that. Like that's beautiful. And yes, there's a shared experience. So I want to hold space for that because I am having a Black gay man experience. There's no denying that. But I'm also having this internal experience where I'm like, I'm neither man or woman. I'm this, just Brandon. And so holding space for both. I don't know if either one wins out, or if I want either one to win out. I think for me, my work at this moment in my life is just holding space for both, allowing both to kind of exist.
I'm going to ask you a question that I asked you when you started using they pronouns, because I felt really insecure in it, but I think that I'm not alone. You sent a message to like all of your friends, I assume. I don't know if it was like I don't know what it was, but you sent me a message.
It was to like a close, like 10, I think 10 of you. Yeah.
And it was like, hey, I'm now using he, they pronouns. And I was like, this is great. Excited. Thank you for letting me know. And then I was like, can I ask you a question? And I'm sorry if I'm being an asshole, but how do I know which one to use and when? And I'd love for you to explain that to people, because I know other people are thinking it and maybe feel nervous about fucking up. And so I'd love for you to explain how, at least for you in your experience, because I know everyone who uses pronouns differently has different feelings about how their pronouns work. But because you were so open with me, I'd love for you to share with my listeners.
1000%. And yes, I think that's the thing to say, is that everybody is going to have a different relationship to their pronouns. And so especially if it's a close friend of yours, you can always ask, like you did, which I really appreciate. It's like, I just want more clarification. And by the way, when you ask that question, I know it's scary to ask because you're like, don't want to fuck it up. But actually, as the person on the receiving end, I see it as like this bridge of love, because it tells me that you care and you want to be intentional about it. And so asking those questions actually is a beautiful thing. For me, I say that he pronouns are for everyone else and they pronouns are for me and for my close friends. And so you right now in this life, because in this point in my life, because I use both, I'm always like, you can't fuck it up. And the reason I do that is because, and I say this in the book, I am Black, I'm gay, and those things cause much more strife for me than my gender identity. Like, I have a lot of privilege in this male body. So calling me he doesn't stress me out as much as, you know, some of the racial and sexual orientation things. So I'm not as concerned. But I wanted to share with my friends just because I wanted them to know that this is what I'm calling myself and this is where I'm at in my life. And because you love me and you know me so personally, I'd like you to also do that, but also know if you say he, you're still correct. And I also did that because I wanted to take that pressure off my friends. I know you probably still feel it, but I was like, this shouldn't be stressful. Like, for me, it's not, and I don't want it to be stressful for you either. Like, we're all learning this together. But that's where I'm at with it. Somebody else might really, really feel adamantly about like, it's this and use it at this time and this, and they'll say that. But for me, I'm still getting used to it. So I wanted to give my friends and family that flexibility as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I feel free in my usage of pronouns with you. Though sometimes I'll text you and be like, do you want to be uncle? Or is there, like, every once in a while, I'll be like, how do we do this? But you said uncle is good.
Yeah, uncle's great. Yeah, I mean, you know, and we talk, Matthew and I are talking about that too, because we're thinking about kids and like, am I going to be dad? Am I going to be, you know, some other name? And I'm not sure. You know, the part of that is also, and I say this in the book as well, you know, I didn't have my father growing up, and I say that the use of the he pronouns, I think, was also reclaiming what it is to be a man, because I didn't have that example, and I had always wanted to be a better father. I mean, be a father, because my father just wasn't there. And so there is some healing in that as well, where I'm like, there is something about being called dad and having daddy that means something to me. So I don't know where I'll land, but that to me is the beautiful thing about life. Like, you get to evolve and change, and feelings get to shift, and that's.
And if you have kids, they'll decide also.
They'll decide too.
They'll decide real fast. As soon as I start talking, like, my nephew calls my cousin's kid calls my cousin Dadu, because he couldn't say daddy, and then Dadu just became the thing, and he's Dadu.
I love that.
And like, they never started with that, but he's Dadu, and now we all call him Dadu.
I love
and
that.
That's just how it is.
Yeah.
And like, same with other people, like, they just come up with nicknames and then it sticks. And you were like, I'm gonna be father, and then all of a sudden they're calling you like Poppy. And you're just like, okay, well, guess I'm Poppy now.
Absolutely, because it's like, you know, it's to me, it's also the intention behind it. Like, I'm not stressed about like it having to be dad. It's like, what's the thing that makes us all feel loved in this household? That's the thing I want to be called.
Well, and naming is so important and powerful. It's why I feel like I love like giving out nicknames or like having things that I call my friends, because it's like, oh, this is a special bond between us, you know?
Exactly.
And like, and I feel like I don't know if I've ever talked about this, because I haven't really talked to you on the show, but like, you used to go by B in college, and everyone called you B. And when I met you, I was like, no, I'm calling you Brandon. And I was like the only person at NYU that called you Brandon.
Everyone called me B or B Goodman, and you were like,
exactly. I would be like, Brandon, please come over here. Brandon.
Brandon.
And then when you came to LA, and I think maybe because of Flywheel or whatever, you started going by Brandon on like the websites. You started going by Brandon more. And now everyone calls you Brandon and I call you B.
Yes.
And I don't know when that shift happened, but like there's something for me that's like the naming of a person in your life or like what you call someone or how you refer to someone is like really powerful and is really like it's like connective.
And it's very special to me when like people that do call me B, because I know what part of my life they're from. Like that like those are from like my college, like post, like, early 20s. And so there's a very specific group that refer to me as B, and it's so special to me to have that. And then everybody else calls me Brandon, and then there's the BKG tribe as well. So it's
also we used to always like laugh because your name is like, if you've never seen Brandon and you just see his name on like social media, it's like this young Jewish boy, Brandon Kyle Goodman.
My mom was like, "You're gonna work. You're gonna get a job."
She was like, "No matter what, we want you to get in the room, boo boo.
Yes,
we're gonna get you in the room.
That
whatever you do, whether you're an actor or a financier, Brandon Kyle Goodman is getting in the door. Once you're in, you're on your own, my guy.
But we're gonna get you in that room." Period.
Okay, wait. We're gonna take a quick break, and we'll be right back. Valentine's Day is upon us, and I've got love on the brain. Love for books, duh, of course. Hello. Did you forget what podcast you're listening to? I love bringing you all great reads, exclusive author interviews, and behind-the-scenes book gossip. But I can only do that with your support over on Patreon and Substack. Our Stacks Patreon community, also known as the Stacks Pack, is where you can go for book club meetups, a private, very active Discord, and a year-long mega reading challenge to help you achieve all your reading goals. Plus, you also get that monthly bonus episode. Now, over on the Substack, you can subscribe to my newsletter, Unstacked, where I keep the book conversations going. I also give you a healthy dose of sports and pop culture, definitely some hot takes happening over there. And again, that bonus episode. If you don't have a few dollars to spare, don't worry. There are free options on the Substack and the Patreon to get you a little extra Stacks magic. Making this podcast is a total team effort, and by supporting my Patreon and my Substack, you allow me to support my amazing team that makes the show possible every single week. So if you or your friends are looking to meet other book lovers and support this indie podcast, come hang out with me on Patreon, Substack, or both. I would love to have you. And since we're talking about love, you can gift subscriptions to the Patreon and the Substack for that special reader in your life. For the Stacks Pack, head to patreon.com/thestacks. And for the newsletter, head to traceythomas.substack.com. And also, there are links to both in the show notes. Okay, see you in the Stacks. Okay, we're back. Speaking of your mom, and there's a great section in the book where you talk about how your mom prepared you for Blackness. And I want to know, what do you think about that preparation now, given all that you know now?
Yeah.
And speaking of future children, would you do it differently for your future children should they be Black?
Yes. Well, yes, I would do it slightly different.
I guess we should say how she did it. Yeah, sorry. I just jumped ahead. I read the book, people. I read the book.
I mean, my mother's whole thing was, she was very concerned about, how I was dressed and making sure that I was always cleaned and everything was like, which you want your kids to be clean. But you know what I'm saying? Like everything was in its place, like very proper. I had to always enunciate. So like, I'm from New York. So we would be like, oh, we going to Manhattan, what's in Manhattan? And she'd be like, Manhattan. Like speech
class.
Very, very Manhattan. Also like my family, I should say, is Caribbean. I'm first generation American. So that's also, I know from other Caribbean friends of mine who are first generation, like that was a big thing that our Caribbean parents really drilled in, over enunciating and getting our language, super proper. And then also, just like, when people say stop, you stop. So like if you're at a play date, your kids, y'all wrestling, whatever, if you hear stop, you immediately stop. Keep your hands out of your pocket when you go into a store, like just like really like rules, which as a kid, you're not taking in why this is important. For me, it was just kind of like, okay, cool. And I followed what my mom said. And then I understood, as I say in the book, that first time I got followed in a store, it was like all of that training came right up. So I was being followed in the store by a security guard. And I when I realized I was being followed, it was like all of that training came up. I went up to the security guard. I smiled. I over enunciated. I asked for the school supplies, like really went into that mode so that I could make sure that I stayed safe in the scenario of that situation. And so when I think about my kids and I think about Black kids, it's like, yeah, I think you do have to prepare them. Like, and we talk about, I've read so many articles about, Black kids who are raised by white parents and like that moment of the reckoning where it's like, oh, right. I haven't prepared my Black child for what their existence is when they're not in my vicinity, when they're not in my reach. And so, yeah, you have to, you just like, if your Black kid is driving, you have to talk to them about what happens if they get pulled over by the cops. Like, we hope it doesn't happen, but like all these things are important. I think what I would do a little differently, it's probably just be very transparent about how unfair it is, like to like really in talking to my kids about these things, like acknowledge that there's a difference and acknowledge that it's unfair and really talk about the spaces of like what's unfair in this world and how things are, it really does suck. And like, it's something that I have to go through and other people in your life have to go through. So you're not alone. You're not the only one that's reckoning with this. Cause I think that was also, it's like, I was never told that like my other Black friends were dealing with this. So it really did feel like just like a me thing. And so I think it would have helped to know that this was something that just like our community just had to know how to do. And so that's what I would do differently, I think.
Well, and you also went to predominantly white schools, especially in high school. You went to a boarding school.
Yes.
So it was like you were the only one in a lot of spaces or one of the only ones.
Yes, oftentimes one of the only ones.
We talked about this before, but I want to talk about it again. Yeah. One of the chapters in the book is about an abusive relationship that you were in.
Yeah.
And, I really love that chapter for a lot of reasons because I feel like, the level of vulnerability was like so overwhelming, but also there's this part of that chapter where you talk about your Uncle Barry who talked to you about manipulation. Mm-hmm. And I think of like all the things in the book, it's like was the greatest takeaway for me personally about how to like interact with your loved ones and like all of that. So I'd love for you to explain, set it up for us and just talk about it because I just love hearing you talk about it.
Yeah. So I was in this relationship that I at the time didn't recognize or identify as emotionally abusive. It wasn't until a few years later in the relationship I'm in now, I was like going through this carousel that was like 10 signs that you were in an emotionally abusive relationship. And I went through all 10 and I identified 9 of the 10. And I was like in the car weeping because I was like, oh my God, that was my relationship with this person who in the book we call Kevin. But after I got out of that relationship, Kevin and I moved out of this apartment we lived in together. And I reconnected with one of my godparents, my Uncle Barry, who's this white, gay, stylish man who lives actually, I'm recording this in New York, maybe not too far from his apartment, actually. Mm-hmm. Actually, oh my goodness, you know what's crazy? The apartment, my Uncle Bear, so there was a period of time when I was 8 years old that my mom lived at this apartment building called Riverbank West, which is like on like 42nd and like 11th, in this high rise. And my Uncle Barry also lived in the same building. So I would like go downstairs and hang out with my Uncle Barry.
Right.
I am currently at a hotel on 11th Ave and you can see that old building.
Oh my God.
It's like 3 or 4 blocks away out. I can look outside the window. I opened the window. I was like, oh my God, that's my old building where Uncle Barry was.
So crazy.
So anyways, I hadn't seen Uncle Barry for years and years. And then after this relationship with Kevin, I reconnected with him and he took me out to dinner and I told him all about, the relationship and my grandmother passing and my mom at the time had just become born again Christian. And then he like asked me, do your friends know about all this? And I was like, no, I haven't told them. And he was like, why? I was like, oh, I like don't want to burden them with, all this stuff. And he's like, do you let your friends come to you about their stuff? And I was like, of course. Like I love holding that stuff for them. And I'm glad they trust me. And he's like, well, if they can come to you, but you don't go to them, then that's manipulative. And I was like, wait, girl, what are you talking about? Like manipulative.
Don't be throwing names out, okay?
Don't be throwing names like that out. That is not who I am, mama. And he was like, no, like, a friendship and a relationship is this two-way street, essentially. And so if you are always presenting as okay and all right, and aren't ever letting your friends see this other side, these broken sides, but they're allowed to show their broken sides to you, then that's manipulation. You're holding the cards, right? You're holding the upper hand. You are the one that's always all right. You're the whatever. And so he's like, that's manipulation. And I was like, I couldn't argue with that. It's like, you're not, the friendship can't be full because I'm not showing my full side. I'm letting somebody else show all of their cards. They're good, they're bad, they're in between. And yet I'm over here only showing my good. And
well, I would argue you're not letting your friends show their full side because they're not getting to take care of you.
That's true. Yeah.
Like you don't get to see that nurturing side of them, and they don't get to feel like they're like helping you, a person that ostensibly you have helped, right?
Yeah.
Like they don't, like you, everyone is sort of being not their full selves in the relationship.
Or even if they have had moments of that, I'm sure it stunts because there's never a chance for them to do the same. So they might have done it once, but like, again, this is one-way street. And so like the relationship can't be its full self because I'm not letting my full self out. And so that changed everything. And I will also say that because my godfather is gay and like grew up, or was here in New York in the 80s. And, obviously when AIDS just like ravaged our community, chosen family and friends were really, really fucking important. And being able to share with your friends in such, devastating, vulnerable moments like that was really, really fucking important. And so I think it hit different when I heard him say that. That meant a lot more. And it's like, yeah, I don't ever want to be in a devastating situation, and my friends just don't know about it. Just like, or like, what? To your point, like you reading the chapter were like, what? Like all my friends are like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And I don't want that in, moving forward.
Yeah. I mean, that chapter was definitely like news to me. I was like, oh, I text one of our mutual friends and I was like, did you know all this stuff about Kevin? And they were like, I mean, I knew that like we don't like Kevin anymore because Kevin was not nice. And we both were like, yeah. Didn't know. Yeah. Which is like a crazy feeling when you're reading your friend's book being like, this is like, there were little things I didn't know about you in the book, obviously, like stuff about your childhood. But in this particular section, I was like, wait, because I was there. I was in the apartment.
I mean, we were throwing
very good friends. We were throwing parties. We were doing workout classes.
Yes.
I'll meet you here. Let's go from your place. Like
I was seeing, like you, Josh, Pat, like all these people that I was seeing regularly. Like it's not like I saw you once in a blue moon. Like we were. There was like multiple times a week. Yes, there was a group of friends that I saw multiple times a week. And slowly but surely, but if like you like look back, it's like, oh, it tracks, because slowly but surely I started seeing people less and less and less. And like that was the relationship as the relationship got deeper.
Right.
Josh was the one who helped me move out of that apartment, and it's like, I still don't think I've told him. But yeah.
Well, you'll know if if he reads the book or not, because he'll probably text you if he does.
Fair.
Josh,
that's my test.
There you go. Did you get the book, boo boo?
Did you read it? We'll see.
Before we jump to like sort of about the writing process, I want to talk about intersectionality.
Yes.
Because I think you do such a good job in this book of showing and not telling about intersectionality. Obviously, you explain what it is early on.
Yeah.
Kimberly Crenshaw. It's like that, if you're Black and you're gay, you can't separate those two things. So experiences that a white gay person would have or experiences that a Black straight person would have can't necessarily be separated from the experiences that you're having.
Yeah.
And so you talk a lot about that in the book, but I mean, you don't talk a lot about it in the book. You show us a lot about how that works for you in the book.
Yeah.
And I guess my question is sort of like, how do you navigate that for yourself? I know how I sort of navigate it for myself as a Black woman, but I'm just curious your feelings about all of it.
I think for me, it's that thing where like I think about it, especially in like career, and I know as, Black people in media, you as a Black woman in media, me as a Black queer person in media, it comes up a lot, right? Because you see your white counterparts excelling in a way that is so obvious that it's about opportunities and that race or gender is at play. Like you just can't deny it. And there's something comforting about that in acknowledging that for me, because I think there was a tendency to think it was about talent and a tendency to think it was about skill. And then when I was finally able to name it and be like, oh no, there's other things at play here, it doesn't, make me happy about it, but it at least quieted the doubt about myself, if that makes sense. And so that's how I really navigate those intersections, is like, and also like when things happen and come up, I now ask the question, like, is this about me? Is this about my gender identity? Is this about my sexuality? Is it about all, my race? Is it about all three? So just, it allows me to be a little more curious as I move through the world. And I think not take things more personal, if that makes sense. Because I'm very clear that my Black queerness and my intersections are beautiful. And I love them, and they are my superpowers. But when the world fights me because of them, I need to be aware that it's the world's problem and not my problem. And I think historically, I thought I was the problem, and I was trying to fix and change me, which I no longer do. Does that make sense?
Totally.
Yeah.
I had a experience not too long ago, well, a little bit ago, where I had a person for this show who was a Black woman and was not into Black women.
Oof.
And it was really jarring for me.
Yeah, that those hurt worse.
Those are the worst. Where you're just like,
all skin folk and kinfolk.
Yeah, like what did I do to you? Like I invited you on my podcast.
Yeah, those hurt.
Yeah, those are really bad. And I feel like those are the ones that are the hardest for me to be like, this is a you thing and not a me thing. Even though those also feel like the most clearly those are a you thing and not a me thing. Because I'm like, you've obviously been hurt in a way that you feel like you have to be awful to me, even though I feel like we're on the same team. So like weirdly, it feels personal and also the least personal.
Yes.
And so those are the ones that I mostly struggle with.
I've had some older Black gay men in my career that have been awful. I've had some ones that have been fabulous, but I've had a couple that have been awful in a way that you're like, huh? Like all I did was say hello. Like you're just like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Why are you looking at me or talking about this? And you're like, oh, it is your pain, right? Like, like they are like, I am triggering your pain. Like you are seeing me move through, listen, you and I have it very difficult still, but we have it easier, better than, right? And so I think there's like, you're seeing an ease happen that one, I like, and in this book, I pay tribute to everyone that's come before me. Like I understand that the reason that I'm able to be here talking to you, having a book where I'm wearing a skirt is because a lot of fucking people sacrificed. And a lot of people went unknown. There are a lot of names that we don't know. But, I can't explain that to the older, Black gay guy who looks at me and thinks I'm spoiled or whatever it is. So that does hurt. But yeah, there is like it's the most personal and the least. I think it's just disappointing. It's just sad. Yeah. Because you're
like it hurts your feelings the most, I think is what it is.
Yeah.
Like it's like, I can still be like, okay, this isn't about me. Like
me,
you have some issues, but also like, this makes me really sad and it hurts my heart. And I just like feel frustrated because I think I also like go into it with higher hopes for them. Yeah. Like I'm like, oh, this is going to be a person that I'm going to be able to connect with and we're going to have a vibe and it's going to be great. And again, there have been many wonderful Black women who have been part of the show and have supported my work. But when there's one that's not, it feels like
weird. Yeah. Because you're also like, there are so few of us, right? Like that are visible and out here doing it. So like when you meet somebody, you're like, I want to like connect. Like we're doing the thing. And when they're like, okay, no, girl, no, you're like, oh, ow, 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 my heart, ow, my heart.
Yeah, 1,000%.
Yeah.
Okay. We always talk about this. How do you like to write? Where are you? Snacks and beverages. How often is there music? Are you in the home? Any rituals, candles, incense, stretching? Set the scene.
All of it. So for the first draft, I usually try to be out of the house. So I for the book, what I did, I would like do this little what I called retreat. So I book an Airbnb or I book a hotel room. I would go away for a couple of days and just like write the shitty draft because I'm a perfectionist, as I talk about in the book. And so it's really easy for me to stop writing because I'm so focused on like a fucking word or like how I want to say whatever. And it was really important to just get out the house and like get it out. There's always a candle. The scents are really important to me. There's always a snack. It's my chance to like order out. So like, there's burgers or fries or chocolate chip cookies. There's a gallon of water, which is just in general. And I'll play sometimes I'll play like some classical music in the back. I can't really, as much as I want to write while listening to Beyonce, like it's my desire. Like I can't, like the moment people are singing, like I get distracted. So I can only do it if there's some kind of like piano, but I tend to go for like a jazzier piano type vibe in the background. a little
keep it
soul.
Jazzy. Keep it
jazzy. No. And specifically piano. Like I love, like I played with like just like general classical, but the piano, I played piano as a kid. I can't do it now, but I played piano as a kid. And so I think that really comforts me in some way. And then taking breaks, when I take my breaks, I watch things that have no stakes. So like a lot of shitty TV, like a lot of Housewives, or like old school, like Living Single, Fresh Prince, like just like things that can really comfort me and make me like, it was funny, in the middle of the book and the pandemic, I was rewatching Scandal, and in like season 3, she gets like kidnapped, and it's such a great season. And as I was writing the book, I was watching it and I had to stop it. I was like, nope, my anxiety, I like can't.
Too much.
It's like too much. It's like spiking. So, but yeah,
God.
Chill
During
vibes.
the pandemic, my mother discovered Grey's Anatomy for the first time.
What a discovery. I'm such a stan.
I mean, it's my favorite show. I've never missed an episode. I still watch. And she was like, I just started watching Grey's Anatomy. And I was like, bitch, I've been watching this show for 18 fucking years, and you're trying to act like you just discovered this? This is my whole personality, is Grey's Anatomy. And she's like, she'll like come to me and be like, oh my God, I'm still watching. I'm on season 13. And I'm like, you still have 5 years, okay?
Baby,
you're not even close.
You're behind.
And I know afterwards she's going to be like, what should I watch next? And I'll probably be like, Scandal,
babes.
Yeah, you've got to go through all of Shonda Land and How to Get Away with Murder.
Come on, you just got to. Come on, Private Practice, get into it. I'm
not into Private Practice.
I loved Private Practice.
It wasn't for
fan.
me.
I hated when Audra McDonald left, but I loved Private Practice.
Ooh, no thanks.
And I'm so glad that Addison's back. Sorry, let's move.
No,
on.
I'm so glad Addison's back too. Wait, so you're still watching Grey's?
Yes, I'm behind on this or on last season. I haven't watched last season, but
Okay.
I am still a fan of the show.
Starts back up October 6th.
Yes, season 19, right? I think we're season
19.
18 or 19.
I can't
yeah.
remember.
Yeah, I went to I got to go to the Emmys, and then I went to the Disney party, and I like ran into a bunch of the cast, and I
saw your picture.
I lost my fucking mind, and they were like, oh, we're taking photos, and I was like, oh yeah, go ahead, go take photos. And then one of the new doctors on the show, ER Fight Master, they are incredible, and I love them, and they were like, come on. And I was like, yes, okay. So I'm in a photo with like 3 of the cast members, and it's the highlight of my life.
You were behind Oprah. You were behind Quinta.
And Charlie
You were
Ralph.
behind everyone. However, for me, seeing you with the dregs of the Grey's Anatomy cast that's still there, I was like, what a blessing. My boyfriend, Justin Chambers, used to ride at Flywheel.
Yes.
Brandon also taught at Flywheel with me.
I did.
And everyone used to always joke because he was like my guy. And all the people at the front desk would be like, your boyfriend's here. And I would be like, Karev?
Karev, hey.
And he was riding there when he left the show. And he told me, he was like, I think I have to leave. Like, I think I've like burnt out. But when I first met him, I asked him about it. And he was like, I love it. It's a steady job. And you don't get that anymore. And I love it. And I get to be creative and I still get to do the work. But I also know like I'm going to have a job. And then one day he was like, yeah, I think I've hit my place. Yeah.
Oh my God.
I love him.
I love that. One last Grace thing. Yeah. Do you know that? So one of my friends now directs on a bunch of the Shonda shows. And for my birthday, he got me a video of Chandra Wilson saying happy birthday, and she like sang a little bit, and I lost my mind. I lost my fucking mind. It was amazing.
She plays Bailey.
Yes. She plays Bailey. Yes, who's been there since season fucking 1. And
I'm gonna do one more, and then we're done.
Yes. She was also the Emmys. I sat behind her. Okay, great. Go ahead.
Also, Justin Chambers one time was like, "Oh, I'm bringing a friend to class later this week." And who did he bring?
Who did he bring?
His friend Sandy.
Sandy who?
Sandra Oh. She called herself Sandy. I was like, "Hi, let me help you get set up on your bike." And I was like, "Great, what's your name?" And she was like, "I'm Sandy." And I was like,
I just hit my mic. Oh my God, I would have died.
I almost died.
I would have
was
passed
so
out.
lovely and kind. Was very patient with me, setting her up on her bike.
I would have been shaking. I couldn't do it.
After class was like, "I'm going to go die now."
Absolutely. One of the most incredible. Sorry, this is not a Grey's Anatomy podcast. Chris, cut all this.
No, leave it in, Christian. Leave it in.
When that scene where Burke leaves her and she's in the wedding dress,
and
Meredith
with no eyebrows.
With no eyebrows, and she goes, "I'm free," and then starts, Sandra,
like she's like, "Cut me out, cut me out."
Yes, like brilliant. Anyways,
good. Sandra Oh was a blessing for all of us who watched that show. Okay, back to your book, which is way better than Grey's Anatomy. Okay, I might be stretching because nothing is better than Grey's Anatomy. Not my husband, not my children, not anyone I've ever met. The fucking bomb episode will be haunting me forever.
Oof,
anyways. What came most easily for you with this book, and what was the most difficult?
What came most easily were definitely the author's notes. So in the book, I do a couple of these author's notes, and those came easily because they were the thing that like broke form. Because I think the scary thing was like, how do you write a fucking book? Like, like I know how to write an essay, I know how to write an article, I could write a TV script, I could write a play, but how do you write a fucking book?
Right.
And so like the author notes were these moments where I like broke away from the convention, and so it felt easy. Those author notes were also, I mean, one of them is pretty personal, the ancestors one, but they're also more like, I would say informational or like, like, this is how we do this is how we hold space. This is how we go to therapy, blah, blah, blah. So it felt, although some of it is still personal, it still felt not as vulnerable, if you will.
Right.
I did find them important. Like, the most important one was the holding space, which I think is the first author's note, because it's right before I go into conversations about my family. And I found that to be really important because I'm still so protective of my family, even though I talk about them in a very, vulnerable, open way, and it doesn't always make them look the best. There's a lot of dualities in this book, and so that holding space was important to me and easy to write because I knew my intention of holding love. The hardest things to write were definitely the 3 chapters. Were definitely mom, grandma, and Kevin. So life is hard. We all need help is the emotional abuse. Gay stuff is about my mom and becoming a born-again Christian, and Pride and Joy is about my grandmother and how I never told her I was gay and like what our relationship was and my kind of longing for her. So those are probably the 3 hardest that were,
This is a question I ask everyone. So you're going to go on record on this. What's the word you can never spell correctly on the first try?
Oh my God, there are so many.
Yes, I have so many. We went to theater school, so this does not shock me about you.
Oh my God, there's so many. Like I literally have to like look up Thursday sometimes. Like, wait, no, like committed comes to mind. I'm like, are there 2 M's, 2 T? Like,
it's the multi
it's
fucking
the multi
consonants.
things.
It's a nightmare. How about committee? Committee is a nightmare for me.
Oh yeah. Anything with like multiple achieve, I'm always like, I'm for E except after C. Like
there's like 17 E's in achieve. Also, like, what are you doing?
What are y'all doing? Like, why is it some words? Stop it.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
So one of the things you talked about is like wanting this book to be for Black people, queer people, and Black queer people most specifically.
Yeah.
What are the best depictions of Black queer people out right now, and which ones do you feel like are lackluster depictions of Black queer people? That can be books, TV, music, whatever pops to mind.
The best, I think. I said this last night. I think industry is such an incredible, and I would love to know what that writer's room is made up, because the lead protagonist is a Black woman. The rest of the cast is pretty white, but I feel like they've created this like really nuanced, layered, fucked up main character, and it's wonderful. That's not a queer character. Well, I guess there's some queerness in it. Other representations, I think Saucy Santana, who is a rapper and is just like, to me, fucking hip hop up in such a delicious way, in such a way that, you know, I've craved forever and ever. You know, they really just are femmed the fuck out, like full nails, like dresses, and are dropping bops, like are dropping full on bops, and it's such a beautiful representation to me. What else have I seen recently? I think that Law Roach as a stylist, I mean, his influence is kind of everywhere, but also seeing him in his fullness, like just show, like he was at the Emmys red carpet and he was fully in slides. It was like these furry Adidas slides with long hair and like just like in his full, and we're like, I was like, where's the Emmys, mama? And you, but just like so unapologetic, and his influence kind of being in all, you know, in Zendaya and Kerry Washington and all these people that he's dressing. So you're seeing that representation, I think, kind of everywhere, and also getting his props, like, you know, like really people being like, that's fucking iconic talent. I'm trying to think about on TV. I'll say, I think that there is work to do in that space. Not that there aren't good representations. Like I think, you know, Pose had some good representation, although that show, as beautiful as that show is, I think also had a lot of trauma inside of it. And so like, I desire seeing more joy. You know, I desire seeing more shows where we get to be in full joy. Like I love that MJ Rodriguez, who won the Emmy and like really led the cast of Pose, now on Loot with Maya Rudolph. You know, I love just seeing Black queer people in spaces, not being tied to their Black queerness, just existing as human beings. But I do think in film and TV, we have a fucking long way to go in terms of getting more representation out there.
I love that. I ask this to everyone also. For people who love your book, what are some other books you might recommend to them that are in conversation with the work that you've done?
There are a bunch of books that I kind of gravitate to right now. So right now I'm reading, and the author's going to escape me, but Adult Children of Emotionally Immature Parents, which has really been so eye-opening and allowing me to see my mother specifically, and you know, that's emotionally immature is like a really that's a charged.
It's pointed. It's
pointed. You know,
it's like when Uncle Barry called you manipulative. It's a little bit like
it's like
you went there.
It's like a friend of mine I think said that they had that book on their coffee table and their mom was coming over and they like literally had to like run and like toss it.
Will you just send a copy to my children because they're gonna need it? Like I am their mom.
My kids are gonna need that.
Yes, just save your copy.
Like, I'm gonna save my copy and pass it down.
every time one of your friends has a child, just send the copy to the parent. Like, here's my baby gift.
Yeah, hold on to it for them. But you know, just like having language to really understand the history of your parents and what they, you know, what that generate. Because what I've said this to you and to other friends is like, my friends who are having kids now, we are the generation that's breaking the pattern. So like a lot of us are first generation going to therapy, first generation talking about mental health, first generation like really being intentional about like, how do I parent, really reading and researching how to parent. Our parents' generation was not really always doing that. And so I think we're the first generation to do that. So it makes sense that there are things that happened and like, you know, scars that were passed down that we are currently reckoning with. And so needing books like that to help us navigate that. The Ethical Slut is also something that I'm reading right now, which has been really inspirational, just in terms of, again, this idea of breaking conventionality. So that book is really all about how do you exist in non-monogamous relationships, and this idea that like, you know, there isn't a right or wrong, like that man and woman or like two people isn't the only way a relationship can exist, and how do you expand your thinking on that? It doesn't mean that you have to move into a non-monogamous relationship, but it's this idea that, to me, it's like the world is bigger than you think it is. And the way for
Right.
us to exist as humans is bigger than you might have been taught, that we've been taught. You know, we've been taught so binary. So anything that allows me to break out of the binary, you know, I'm gonna fucking love. You know, this is old, but it was kind of the first book that really really allowed me to see myself, which was The Gifts of Imperfection by Brene Brown. That was the first time I read that years ago. And it was the first book that I read that gave me language for why I was suffering. Which I was, you know, I talk about in the book, my perfectionism is my addiction. And as a Black person and as a Black queer person, I think a lot of us suffer from perfectionism. It's like,
Yes.
our worth and our value is rooted in our productivity and how well we're able to perform. And so being able to, that book really inspired me to undo that, but also in writing this book, like the importance of, I said this to you, you know, the difference between being on Instagram and having like these stories kind of disappear. It's like, I wanted to create something that somebody could hold on to, and always go back to and be like, oh my God, that thing, this is how I navigate that. So those are the 3 books I'll give right now.
I'm going to give 2 books just because I think that they're like perfectly in conversation.
Yeah.
One is I Can't Date Jesus by Michael Arsenault.
Oh, yes. Yes.
and
That's a great one. Yeah.
It's so good. And it
Yes.
has like the joy and the humor that you talked about. Like it's not rooted in like a super traumatic like foundation. Though there
Yes.
is, of course, trauma because being Black queer in America, there's going to be trauma points, just like there
Yes.
are in your book.
Yes.
And then the other one I would say is Here For It by R. Eric Thomas. Also essays,
Yes.
also Black queer. So for people who are like looking for other Black queer stories that maybe aren't rooted in trauma, those are 2 I would throw out that I think are really, really great. And then one that's slightly more on the traumatic side, but so fucking good is No Ashes in the Fire.
I was just
by
going to
Darnell
say,
Moore.
yes, No Ashes in the Fire, All Boys Aren't Blue, and The Bluest Eye were 3 books that I also read before starting to write. And I was really grateful, one, to like just hear Darnell and George's voices, and also just like Toni Morrison writes in this. Toni Morrison's Toni Morrison, but you know, just like, but like, I think that Toni Morrison also does this thing where she breaks how she writes. It's like, it's like poetry. It's just like, it's the form of her writing is just so
good.
So good. So those definitely. So that's
last one.
Good chunk. Yeah.
That's a good list. You all have a good
good
TBR
list.
there.
Yeah.
Okay, last one. If you could have one person, dead or alive, read this book, who would you want it to be?
Dr. Maya Angelou. For sure. The quote that opens my book is, I'm a human being, thus nothing human can be alien to me. And I got that from her. She did this thing called Oprah's Masterclasses, where she would do this hour-long kind of in-depth documentary style thing with a different person. And so Dr. Maya Angelou's was life-changing for me. It was shortly after my grandmother had passed away and right after my mom had become born again. And there's this thing that she says, which is love liberates, it does not bind. And if you go on YouTube and look up Maya Angelou, Love Liberates, it's this 10-minute thing about her mother and when her mother was passing and how she was able to release her mother. And she said, love liberates, it does not bind. And that idea that love should not be conditional, that if you really love somebody, that you give them the space and the time to do what they need to do and to be who they need to be and to let them know you're always there, that is love. And that really changed everything for me. But she also in there talks about how she would start everything, like all her classes, with that quote that she would say in Latin, and I won't fuck it up. I won't say it because I'll fuck it up, but it translates to, I am a human being, thus nothing human can be alien to me. It's a Roman philosopher, Terence. And so I put that in front of everything. Anyways, Dr. Maya Angelou is who I would want to read this book. That would mean everything to me.
I love that so much. Okay, we're done. We're out of here. Last thing I'm going to say, get your copy of You Gotta Be You wherever you get your books. B also reads the audiobooks. You can do the audiobook. I have heard B read the conclusion. It is so good hearing it in your voice. So if you are an audiobook person, I highly recommend the audiobook. I have linked to everything we talked about today in the show notes. B, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. I love you.
I love you. And everyone else, we will see you in the stacks. Thank you all so much for listening, and thank you to Brandon Kyle Goodman for being my guest. Don't forget, Anthony Ocampo will be back on October 26th to discuss this month's book club pick, Fairest by Meredith Toulouse. If you love the show and want inside access to it, head to patreon.com/thestacks and join the Stacks Pack. Make sure you're subscribed to The Stacks wherever you listen to your podcasts. And if you're listening through Apple Podcasts or Spotify, leave us a rating and a review. For more from The Stacks, follow us on social media at The Stacks Pod on Instagram and at The Stacks Pod _ on Twitter. And check out our website, thestackspodcast.com. This episode of The Stacks was edited by Christian Duenas with production assistance from Lauren Tyree. Our graphic designer is Robin McCrite, and our theme music is from Tagira Gis. The Stacks is created and produced by me, Tracy Thomas.